Gregory Cheadle, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to run for office?
Uh, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and pre-med, a master's degree in public administration with an emphasis in healthcare administration, and I have a doctorate in jurisprudence, which is a law degree. Um, I just felt, given all that I have, the talents, the education, so forth and so on, that the North State should have better representation. The way I saw it, I was fed up with what Congress was doing. And I'm not one of those types of people who would just sit on the sidelines and complain and not do anything. And so I decided I would run for Congress, and the first time I ran, I announced that I was running. Shortly after that, Wally Herger announced his retirement and gave his endorsement to LaMalfa. LaMalfa took that race. There were 8 of us running. As soon as Herger announced his retirement, everyone and his mother jumped in the race. So we had a total of 8 people running. And unfortunately, LaMalfa took it. And, he ran a good race, no problem with that. But nevertheless, I still feel as though we don't get representation because our Congress is bought. I'm not bought. No one owns me, no party owns me, no corporation owns me, no special interests own me. And so I feel as though I'm more than qualified to run for Congress, and that's why I am.
Okay. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. They're going to be the same 3 questions I asked to each candidate.
All right.
First off, where do you stand on surface water storage? Do you support dam removal efforts in Northern California? And what about surface water storage efforts like the Sites Reservoir? Finally, how do you balance the needs of California farmers against the needs of river ecosystems in an era of drought?
With respect to dam removal, I'm somewhat cautious because every time someone says that it's going to cost X amount of dollars, it normally costs 3X. That's one thing. The second thing is there are likely to be unintended consequences that we may be able to think through, but I dare say there were some that we won't even know that are going to happen with the dam removals. And then there's also the hydroelectric issue. And so I'm cautiously against dam removal because I don't see any benefit from it. I see far more problems with dam removal than I do with retaining the dams. With respect to the Sites Reservoir, I'm not an expert on water issues. I don't want to come across as an expert. My job is to investigate this thing further because it's something that I don't want to give a yes or no answer because I'm not a charlatan. And so on that issue, I would much rather defer to the experts in it and look at both sides of it and come to the conclusion on my own. With respect to the drought issue, that's huge. I mean, it's just like with money. If you don't have enough money, there's somebody who's going to come up short. And so we have to have a plan whereby during drought years, this is what we're going to do. We may have to import more produce. And the reality is, too, is that a lot of this stuff is exported. It's not like if we lose all the water or if we go through a drought season that the people in California are going to starve. People in other places may, but people in California won't. We have enough produce and everything to feed America. It's just that the export of it is the issue. And I dare say, even with the export, that's probably excess. That's not, mandatory requirements to feed a given nation. That's excess. You have the rice, which is really a water-consuming product, like crazy. Like 100 and some odd inches per year for that. So those are things we have to look at. Who's getting the money for the water? Selling water rights and things like that. That's what we have to look at. And so there is a balancing act, and we just have to come on the side of sense, common sense. There's no sense wasting water, and I think we as a country, as a state, the era of cornucopia of everything is over. So now we have to really determine what is important and what isn't. What is a luxury and what's a necessity.
Okay. Question number 2. The new Common Core curriculum has been a subject of a lot of local criticism, and there was a recent town hall meeting staged by Common Core opponents here in this area. Do you support the new standards, or do you have other ideas for improving the American educational system?
You know, the Common Core I'm against because it's the federalization of education. I'm against that. The children of Mississippi are different from the children in New York City, who are different than the people in Seattle, who are different than people in Alaska. I think education is, at the very most, a state issue. We've made education this, it's no longer the reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's a socialization. We want to inculcate certain views in children. And so that population will grow up to think a certain way. It's the manipulation of thought. It's not the educational process. It's the manipulation of thought. It's the manipulation of morals. The manipulation of behaviors, and that's what concerns me. You know, it used to be that the parents would educate their children, and then we had the school system come in. And so now to have the feds come in and dictate what the education is, that's frightening. And I'm against it. Too much government is a problem.
Finally, do you support the Jefferson statehood movement, and why or why not?
I support the Jefferson statehood movement because we're at a point in California where our forefathers were when they left Europe to found the United States. People are fed up. Sacramento is not hearing the North State. Sacramento is bought. You know, there's special interest money all throughout Sacramento. But more importantly, the needs of Californians are not being met. Again, you look at Southern California is different than Central California, which is different from the coast, which is different from Northern California. Each one has its own unique set of needs. The desert is different than the Bay Area. And so, in addition to that, you know, we have a population now of nearly 35 million people. And to have one governor over that many people, that's a problem, especially when there's such diversity in the state itself. And so I'm all for breaking up California. I don't care if we break California up into 5 different parts. It's got to be broken because it is unmanageable. One person cannot or should not have the power to control nearly 35 million people. In addition to that, we have roughly somewhere around 25 or a third of the welfare recipients in California. And so that's an issue too. And so the state of Jefferson is saying that we are sick and tired of not being heard. We are sick and tired of what you're doing. The carb requirements. Why in the world should a farmer have to put on this diesel contraption for $10,000 to $20,000? He's not using a tractor that much. He's using it, you know, during harvest and so forth and so on. Why should a trucker have to pay another $10,000 to $20,000 to put this thing on his truck? In addition to that, it gets less mileage. So what's the benefit? There's no benefit to the environment because now the person is paying more for fuel and they're using more gas. It doesn't make any sense. So the Jefferson movement, I'm for it. Our Constitution gives us the right to be free. It gives us the right to be smart. It gives us the right to be stupid. It gives us the right to do what we think we should do, as we're not affecting negatively other people. And so to have the state of Jefferson says a whole lot. We need our freedom. We want our freedom. And that's what the people that say that Jeffersons are all about, is freedom. Because the United States, and California in particular, the centralization of power is becoming oppressive. And people are rising up and saying, enough is enough. And that's what the state of Jefferson is doing.
Okay, sir, I like to close out my interviews by finding out if there's anything that I forgot to ask about, or if there's something that you'd like to talk about that I haven't given you the opportunity yet. So if you'd like to, take this opportunity to spend 60 to 90 seconds addressing a topic of your choosing that hasn't come up in this interview.
Well, I think it's important that we look at special interest money and corporate money in politics. We need campaign reform. I'm not bought by anyone. I don't take special interest money. I don't take corporate money, and I don't take money from outside the district. I think if you represent the district, your money ought to come from within the district, and that's the way I am. when you have a government where both parties are funded by the same people, the Koch brothers fund Republicans and Democrats. Warren Buffett supports Democrats and Republicans. When you have a government that's controlled by elite billionaires, there's something wrong. And so, as a person who is not bought, I am free to represent the people, and I don't have to, give an account to anyone but the people that I represent.
Okay. Sir, thank you very much for coming to join us.
You called me sir. Stop it.